Heather.
Hi, Lauren. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. I'm so excited to have you on live. Um,
Thank you.
so about what was it, like 3 weeks ago that we did a podcast on your STEM feature.
Yes, yes. So it's nice to see you face to face,
I
virtually.
know. And I love the hair, by the way. I also had done
Thank
the front
you. Thank you.
pink, but it doesn't stay for super long, huh?
No, it doesn't. The pinks and reds seem to fade much faster than like a good blue,
Yeah,
but that just means you have to change it more often. That's all.
exactly. More opportunity for transformation. So
Exactly.
to introduce you to all of our viewers who are joining in. So the way I usually host this is like a live half an hour Q&A, and I'll just ask you some questions while we wait for any of our audience to pop in, and I'll be monitoring the chat. So if
Okay.
anyone has questions about skincare and pregnancy, I'll be looking for those and I'll voice them to you throughout our conversation. But really, I just wanted our audience to get to know a little bit about you. I think you're wonderful. I've enjoyed our conversation. So Heather's actually a chemical engineer and the principal scientist at NeoStrata.
Mhm.
So you've been like working on skincare for a long time, and kind of just give me how you like fell into that career path, a little bit of your background.
Sure, no problem. And again, thanks for having me here. I'm so excited. I don't typically do these, so this is a new feature
I'm
in
so
my
happy
life.
you enjoyed.
Yeah, so I have been in the skincare industry for a little while, like 15-ish years. And I kind of fell into it, honestly, after school. So I went to Purdue, go Boilers, and my background is actually chemistry. And so once I graduated, I moved west. If you've been to Indiana, it's a great place to grow up, but not super exciting. And so having family in like the LA area, I knew I wanted to head west. So I did, and I kind of fell into a role with a manufacturing company that manufactured both hair care and skincare. And so I started in their quality lab and I transitioned over to their formulation lab. And then I ended up moving to the company I'm with now, and I've actually been there for 10 years. So it is a global like healthcare company. I'm on in the consumer sector. So over that time, I've had roles in a lot of different areas. So I've kind of seen all the pieces that go into making skincare products. And so there's definitely something about when you see your product on the shelf and people get excited about using your product. It's like, oh, all that work was worth it.
Yeah, and it must be so amazing too. From a molecular level, you really understand what is going in products. And the reason I thought it would be a really great opportunity to host you is because most of our audience is either expecting or new moms. And so I think around that period in the perinatal journey, you become much more concerned about what you're putting in and on your body. And something that's really interesting is, on NeoStrata's site, it's like everyone's skin is unique. And especially during pregnancy, you're going through hormonal changes where you may have skin pigmentation that is unexpected. You're definitely needing to apply more sunscreen than usual because of those hormonal changes, more progesterone. You're having vascular changes that increase the permeability. You may be prone to more acne then.
Mm-hmm.
Well. And so I just wanted to hear, maybe a couple of tips from you in terms of like what moms can do and also what happens in like what you're putting into your products that differentiates them from what's on the market.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I think you hit on a couple of, well, especially one big skincare concern, right, is acne.
Yeah.
And that can hit us at any point in time in life, basically. But yeah, so the brand I work for now, it is a little more, how do we say, mature skin. The brand I was at before was a little bit younger age, so depending on where you fall. But yeah, especially like with acne, if you have concerns with acne popping up, like you said, hormonal can absolutely trigger it. I had that issue when I was an adult. So fortunately, it waited through school, and it didn't hit me until adult. And it was definitely hormonal related. So to all the new moms or moms to be out there, don't worry, it happens to all of us. You
Yeah.
can recover. There are things you can use. So in terms of, I won't go into chemistry behind it, but in terms of what moms can look for out in the world on the shelf, things that might be able to help you is one of the big ones that's out there is salicylic acid. So look for, a face wash with some salicylic acid in it. It might even be called acne wash something something, to help guide you. So that is something that's generally added for more mild acne concerns. So if yours isn't too bad, try that. It will definitely help exfoliate your skin.
Yeah.
So, our skin is our biggest organ, right? And it's like regenerating cells. We're losing cells like hundreds of millions a day. So those start getting stuck on your skin and might start clogging up some pores. So
Yeah.
some salicylic acid will definitely help exfoliate, get rid of some of that dead skin cells that are clogging up. It'll also help with bacteria. So sometimes acne is caused by bacteria. So it'll help alleviate that as well, get rid of some bacteria. And it's
Yeah.
a good one for kind of the future. Like it helps like reset your skin. So use as you have acne, but then also to try to mitigate any future acne.
Yeah.
Um, Another one to maybe look for, and now granted, I'm not a dermatologist. I am not an MD, so definitely talk to your doctor for official. I'm just giving you my life experience making these and using them, right?
Yeah.
Another one is benzoyl peroxide. So that is generally for a little bit more moderate acne, I would say, and that worked great for me. My hormonal acne generally came in my chin, kind of lower face region, so that was something that was great for me. Just if you do use it, be careful because it will bleach items. So hair, clothes, towels. So it will definitely help.
It won't be so dark anymore.
It'll help. It'll definitely get rid of some acne and like the bacteria causing the acne, but it might also remove some color from things around you. So
Yeah.
those are two that might be for consideration. But another one that's used for more severe but is a problem for pregnant women would be any retinoid products because right, retinol pregnancy do not go together.
Right.
But maybe afterwards and after breastfeeding, you can talk to your doctor about, is this something I can consider if acne is still a pretty prominent issue for your skin?
That was like so thorough. Thank you so much for hitting on. No, I appreciate it. The
Yeah.
acne really went over, what do you do if you see the mild changes? What's the least invasive, starting with the salicylic acid to, okay, now maybe there's a little more moderate. Let's take a step up and start using something with the benzoyl peroxide, but also considerations too, because we don't want to ruin our our nicest dark navy dress, right?
Right, exactly.
I had a question because I noticed one of the ingredients that you work with in your formulations at NeoStrata is bionic polyhydroxy acid. And
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering, does that is that safe in pregnancy or is that something that is utilized more for fine lines or like what's really the purpose of that?
Sure. So, you know what? I'm going to actually take a little step back. So, there's polyhydroxy acids, but there's also alpha hydroxy acids. So,
Okay.
um, we use both of those in our brand. And alpha hydroxy is almost like kind of Gen 1 when it comes to how to use those hydroxy acids for skincare. And those are a little bit more intense. So some of the ones that you'll see out there, like glycolic acid, and a lot of times you'll see those in derm offices if you're getting like a chemical peel. If you're somebody like me with pale skin, you'll probably come out looking pretty red if you start using a high level. So the polyhydroxy acids are kind of like Gen 2. And so they're a larger molecule, so they sit more on the surface when you're using versus the alpha can penetrate a little deeper into the skin, resulting in the irritation or that redness you might see. So the
Right.
polyhydroxy acids are great if you have more sensitive skin because they don't generate kind of that after irritation or redness that you might see with some AHA products, depending on level. With anything, definitely, I would say consult your doctor and just be careful, like where are you applying it, and where on your body do you have concerns. But yes, so PHAs are really great, a great material. And then I think you asked about bionic specifically.
Yeah, I saw bionic polyhydroxy acid and I'm like, what is that?
Yes.
But
Yes. So our like kind of our first polyhydroxy acid that we talk about or that we use a lot, we use in a lot of our products is gluconolactone. The bionics we use are maltobionic and lactobionic.
okay.
So lacto is from milk sugar, and then malto is from what is corn. And so they like I said, they're just bigger, they're a little less invasive almost to your skin, but they still give you that great exfoliation. They do have some moisturizing properties, anti-aging, antioxidants. So they're just a little easier to use, especially if you're just kind of getting into those hydroxy acids for your skincare regimen.
Yeah.
So they're a good place to start. Another thing that's nice because they're not irritating, and if you do have more mature skin, then if you are somebody who, when we're not in COVID, is going to a derm office for maybe a procedure or a treatment, the PHAs you can still, because they're not that irritating, it's still kind of like something you could take home with you to continue working on your skin health.
Yeah, and that was something like one of our audience, a big concern in pregnancy is stretch marks. So
Yes.
what you can do to help kind of mitigate those stretch marks is like vitamin E at the area on the belly, and also alpha hydroxy acids or something that is recommended. Could you use this bionic polyhydroxy acid as well, like, or do you recommend sticking with the alpha hydroxy for stretch marks?
I would definitely go with whatever the doctor is recommending. And the AHAs are very good for that kind of like not only exfoliation but helping with cell turnover and all of that. So I would stick with, if that's what the doctor recommends, then give it a try. But I mean, adding some PHA into your regimen too, no harm, no foul. You'll
Yeah.
and we do have products where there may be a combination of both. So yeah.
And so where could any of like our moms in pregnancy who wanted to prevent stretch marks find something with either alpha hydroxy acid for stretch mark prevention or the PHAs?
So for our brand specifically, you can find stuff online on the websites. You can also find some products in Ulta. A
Okay,
lot of a lot of our products, because they have a higher quantity of some of these materials, a lot are through derm offices.
right.
So there may be some that you would not be able to find on shelf, but there will be some that you can find like in an Ulta. We're a little more like, I'll say, bougie brand. So it's not necessarily going to be out at a Walmart or a Target, but you will be able to find some at Ulta.
Well, we know it's effective because working on it back there. And I just, for all of our new viewers that just hopped on, I just want to quickly reintroduce. So, Heather Mott, she's amazing. She hosts a podcast in STEM to really bring to light the journeys and the lives of people in science. And also, she has highlighted a lot of interesting innovations on her podcast. I was really fortunate to be able to speak with her about 3 weeks ago on there. And I wanted to have her on because a lot of concerns during like pregnancy were stretch marks, hormonal changes with acne. And so while I'm here asking her questions, just feel free to drop any in the chat here and I'm monitoring it. And we'll be on for like another 15 minutes for you to
Yeah.
ask our specialist. Another thing, so with kind of the pigmentation changes, we know like melasma occurs in about 50% of women that are are pregnant, and it's often because of the progesterone, and you get vasodilation. So your skin can be much more sensitive during this
Hmm.
time. So I do recommend that women who weren't usually using sunscreen definitely apply it to prevent this pregnancy mask from sort of staying. Are there any other things from your chemical engineering sort of expertise that you would recommend for pigmentation changes?
Yeah, and this is another one where definitely check in with your doctor, because a really good one is retinol, for helping with that skin tone and the darker spots, in the skin. But also a lot of these other ones, AHAs, PHAs, anything that's doing that exfoliation and helping with cell turnover, where you're generating, and if you are properly protecting your skin with sunscreen, like, you probably will see some evening out of pigmentation. So I think if you go out there and you start looking for what's something that's working with dark spots, a lot of it will be retinol or retinoid based, but there is some good opportunity with these other, like, hydroxy acids, for just helping regenerate what was underneath all of that. But definitely please wear sunscreen. Please always wear sunscreen because photo aging is just so, you could prevent it, right? Like with your sunscreen, versus chronological aging, there's not much you can do with our
Yeah,
rotation around the sun, but you can, like, block that sun.
we can't stop rotating, but we
No, but you could try to keep those UV rays out.
can. Well, this has just been so insightful, even for me. And I was wondering a little bit about hydration. Just like, this might not be specific to pregnancy, but I know you can still have dry skin from even like the microbiome changes and like the skin pH sort of being altered. Because as your hormones fluctuate, the environment in which the microbes that live on your skin changes. So if you start having the repercussions of that be like drier skin, more like fine lines and wrinkles. Can you tell us a little bit about like, yeah, hyaluronic acids or something that can help with that?
Sure. Yeah. So the PHAs again will help with, the moisturization, and then, like you mentioned, hyaluronic acid. So that's a great one out there. That's something that naturally occurs in your body anyway. But like many things, as we age, things start getting slower. So it might start to deteriorate. It's not getting produced as regularly. And hyaluronic acid is important, like you mentioned, for kind of that overall skin health, in terms of it helps bind water. So it helps keep you and your skin looking more hydrated and more hydrated. And with that, it'll be a more like plumpness to the skin, right? So if your skin is well hydrated, you may see, like, maybe an appearance of reduction of wrinkles. It might might have that glowy look, right? Because you're hydrated, right? We're supposed to be hydrated. And don't forget to drink water. That is super important for your skin too. Like, make sure you are drinking plenty of water. But yeah, hyaluronic acid is a big one. And it is definitely helpful. Even, applying it topically, you're going to get some benefit to the skin from that.
That's so helpful. So, like, I love how you give the approach, start from within, make sure you are actually being hydrated enough. And then if you apply a topical, something that actually binds to the water molecules, like a hyaluronic acid, can help if there are
Yes.
environmental changes on the surface of the skin.
Yep.
And so, just to kind of recap for people who popped in a little late, we went over some skincare concerns during pregnancy. So, first, we started with stretch marks and what we can do to sort of mitigate them from lasting. And it's vitamin E. If your doctor approves you using something like alpha hydroxy acid,
Yes. Yep. Yep.
that can be helpful, as well as a polyhydroxy acid. And so there's different concentrations of this. Heather is the principal scientist at NeoStrata. They have formulated a bit stronger products, but there are over-the-counter versions you can get to mitigate those stretch marks. And we also talked a little bit about pigmentation changes. And the most preventative thing you can do is really applying that sunscreen and making sure that you're protecting your skin as it's a bit more fragile, and the progesterone is increasing your vascular permeability and dilation. And then topically, what did we say could help? I've totally blanked on that one already.
Oh, the hyaluronic acid?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So the hyaluronic acid is great also for binding to the water molecules and making sure you stay hydrated.
Yes.
Hydrated looking, but you have to
Yeah.
be hydrated inside first.
Right, right, right. Both ways.
Then we also touched on some hormonal changes that can occur, and you might, be experiencing mild acne, where a first level topical treatment would be salicylic acid. And then if you're starting to experience more moderate acne, you could definitely try the benzoyl peroxide wash. And I'm loving having you on because you're a wealth of knowledge just with the
Thank you.
scientific background in chemistry, and you're also bringing it to our audience, which these are real concerns. You not only are carrying a new life or you've just had a new baby, but you want to feel your best and maybe like prolong that pregnancy glow too. So that's a good way that the hyaluronic acid can help as well, by keeping you like glowing and hydrated even after your birth.
Yes. And I think the other thing we touched on, just reminder for people, retinol, retinoids are great skincare products, but they are definitely not for with pregnancy. So don't just go pick one up. Make sure you speak with a doctor, of course, but even in handling those, right? Because I come from the actually making these products side of things. Even just handling them, when we receive documentation from where it's coming from, the recommendation is, if you're pregnant, don't even handle this
Yeah.
as you're working in lab or in production. So,
And same for breastfeeding too. And maybe it's interesting to me, but maybe you can help us understand a little bit about why like retinol products are so powerful and why they should actually be avoided during pregnancy and breastfeeding.
so I don't know all of the pathways, but I do know that there are concerns in terms of injury to the fetus, or injury to your young developing baby. So I believe there is a name for it, but it's escaping me now, where it's like an actual like retinoid syndrome, where there might be some damage. So just be careful.
Okay. This is so helpful, Heather. I'm
Yeah.
really grateful that you were able to join us today and
Thank you.
value for our listeners. Um,
Yes, I hope so.
yeah, absolutely. So I'm thinking of other things, and I'm like looking for any questions that are popping up in the chat. Um, in terms of like varicose veins or spider veins that can occur from sort of you have a new like vascular system that's forming inside,
Mm,
right? So there can be more pressure on your veins, and oftentimes these yeah, they're called like spider veins, can occur in the lower extremities. So I know that increasing your vitamin C intake can help, within the normal daily limits.
mm.
Is there anything from a topical standpoint that you're aware of that could help women who are going through spider vein syndrome during pregnancy?
Unfortunately, I don't know. Like you said, that's more vascular than kind of the layers of skin I'm working on. But
Yeah.
it's interesting you mentioned vitamin C because that's important too for skincare and photo aging and antioxidants, getting rid of free radicals that are damaging your body. So vitamin C is also great in skincare. And I believe that's one you will see frequently paired with hyaluronic acid to just try to get the synergy, to get the most benefit from both in a product. So vitamin C is important. But sorry, I don't really know for the veins.
I think that that makes sense though, because it is like pretty deep within the vasculature that would be occurring. I'm just thinking of everything that people are concerned about during their pregnancy. And I love that's why I'm happy that you're on, because you've really hit from a holistic level how we can take care of our skin, not just by like products that you apply topically, but really by staying properly hydrated, making sure that you are getting that vitamin C intake, and then applying the sunscreen to prevent the long-term pigmentation changes. And then other things that you can do, like you've mentioned with the alpha hydroxy, polyhydroxy.
Mm.
And yeah, so I don't see any other questions that are rolling in. So just in our last couple minutes here, I'm super interested, what made you interested in going into a degree in chemistry? Like what sparked for you?
I know. I say chemistry, and most people are like, "Oh," is the general reaction. Um, I actually had an amazing chemistry teacher in high school. And so I always had an interest in science. I just wasn't sure which direction I would go. So my degree is actually chemistry with a bio minor and then biochemistry specialization. So I just tried to kind of cover the gamut of what I enjoyed in high school. So I also viewed it was challenging. It wasn't something that just came super easy. It took some effort. So that made it feel like it was more worthwhile.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I got into chemistry. And I do do remember a friend of mine, her mom was like, "Oh, I didn't know you were smart enough for chemistry." So
You
I was
have
like,
a
I'm gonna
friend's
break the
mom in
mold.
high school.
So I was like, well, I'm gonna do it then.
You're like, watch me.
Right, right. But I mean, I think there is something with the challenge, right? That you gotta embrace it, go
Absolutely.
for it.
I just love how you have translated your scientific career into something that is really digestible. And like I said earlier, we're so happy to have you here and just like providing value for our perinatal audience and any skincare and pregnancy questions that they might have. And not only are you doing podcasts like this, but you actually started your own. And so I love that because you're featuring so many different men and women from the STEM field and actually helping people at a digestible level understand what they're doing in science. So we have just about 5 more minutes here in our Ask a Specialist episode, but if anyone wants to drop in questions, we'll watch and monitor. And while I have you on, I would just love to hear what was the stimulus, for starting your STEM podcast?
So so I used to live in Los Angeles. Right now I'm in New Jersey, and I enjoyed home brewing. So I ended up working weekends at a local brewery to learn more about the beer industry as a whole. So I was working in the brewery's like kind of like a merchandise beer sales store on site. And so my podcast is Brains, Boobs, and Beer. And being a female, coming from a STEM world already, but the beer industry is very male dominated. And the brewery I worked at was very adamant that its employees learn about the beer so that you could speak intelligently to what the offerings were. And so I just continuously observed this cycle of guys would come in and would assume I wouldn't be able to help them in any way, shape, or form when it came to beer. And so I think I literally said one day, like, what, I can't have boobs and a brain and like beer. And so like, that kind of like that generated this like idea of people have these like different interest pools, right? So just because I'm a nerd doesn't mean I don't have quote unquote cool hobbies too. And
Yeah.
so that triggered this idea of a podcast, and it's been really fun because not only have I met amazing people such as yourself, but I've learned things about people I've known forever that I didn't know before because we just hadn't had that conversation beyond whatever our kind of little normal arrangement was. So that was the trigger for the podcast and the name and where we're ending up.
Well, I'm so happy you started it because I was connected to you through an amazing scientist, Dr. Trill, who's working on another breastfeeding innovation. So test strips that help you detect if there are allergens in your breast milk that could be affecting your baby. So it gives you actually
Mm.
the freedom to, if you do ingest soy, you can wait until it passes through your milk before you use that pump milk for your baby again or have them latch back on. So when she introduced me to you, I was super excited because I'm like very, you've started sort of a movement of just having more natural conversations and actually integrating, evidence-based sort of data-driven skincare in today's convo. So
Yeah.
I was so happy to be able to meet you and host you for today. I don't see any new questions that have popped up, but I just wanted to give a quick recap. Heather Mott, she's the principal scientist over at NeoStrata. So she works on skincare products from a molecular level. And I was so happy to have her on today to help us understand what we can do to improve skincare during pregnancy and even after birth. And so I'll go ahead and actually post this in a blog and pull out and recap all of the tips that you gave us, not just for acne, not just for pigmentation changes, but stretch marks as well, and also how we can keep the microbiome and that surface of the skin sort of intact while we're going through all these hormonal fluctuations in the perinatal period. I'm so happy that you joined today, Heather. Thank you. It's like
Thank you.
always such a joy talking to you, and I look forward to the next time that we host you or we keep in touch.
Yes.